Hey, 5B. Right, continuing with The Other Side of Truth, this is chapter 39, which is called A Visitor. There were only 2 more days until the end of term, and the doctor had ordered Sade to rest. This time Femi did not argue about staying off school. Sade thought he must be hoping that someone at school had seen him on television. She did not want to think about her school or her class. She did not want to think about anything or anyone. But when Aunt Gracie came up with a juice and a bowl of cornflakes, she brought the news that Mama Appiah was coming to talk to her later in the afternoon. Mrs. Appiah says you look so good on television, like a star. She's sure this will help your daddy. Aunt Gracie, trying to cheer her up, made Sade feel even more miserable. Mama Appiah would as well. She forced herself to eat a few cornflakes so that Aunt Gracie would feel she had at least tried and would take the bowl away. But she still did not feel at all hungry. Most of the day, Sade lay in bed listening to music on the little radio that Aunt Gracie had put on her desk. She tried reading a book from the school library, but it took too much energy to keep her eyes on the print, even to hold the book. At least the music filled her brain. Once, however, after she dozed off, she jerked awake, imagining a line of stick-thin people struggling across miles of sand. The figure in front held up his hands in a way that reminded her of someone. The picture came closer, like a television camera moving in, until she was forced to see it was Papa. At the head of a line of starved refugees, Papa was still talking with his hands. When the doorbell rang at about 4 o'clock, Sade rolled over to face the wall again. Perhaps Mama Appiah would not stay if she thought she was disturbing her. Aunt Gracie's voice rang like a warning bell on the stairs. It's so very good of you to come. Sade will be so pleased to see you, but only for a few minutes. Doctor says she needs plenty of rest. She may even be sleeping now. Sade waited to hear Mama Appiah's rich tones, but there was no reply. I have a visitor for you, Sade. Aunt Gracie's words bounced lightly. Your friend has come to see you. Sade lay still. Your school friend? Sade lifted herself onto her elbows. Behind Aunt Gracie stood Mariam, and she held out a large white envelope. We made a card for you. I say I will bring it. Sade stared at it but did not reach out. How very kind of you, said Aunt Gracie. Isn't that kind of your class, Sade? Aunt Gracie took the envelope from Mariam and handed it to her. I shall leave you girls together, but only about 10 minutes, mind you. Neither girl spoke as Sade slowly lifted the flap and pulled out a card with a spray of flowers and "Get well soon" on the front. A folded piece of notepaper slipped out onto the bed. She left it there while she imagined the mosaic of names and messages. Underneath, hope you feel better, printed in the centre. Someone had written, and that your dad is free soon. She scanned the good lucks, best wishes, see you soons. There were names she knew and others for which she didn't even know the faces. Strangers to her. But then, tucked away in the bottom hand corner, she stumbled on Love, Marcia. And immediately underneath was Donna with 3 kisses. The liars. She could feel Mariam waiting for her to say something. Her mouth felt completely dry. Perhaps some of the others didn't mean what they said. Don't judge the village by this thief, Sade. That's what Mum would have said. If the dog steals, will you punish the goat? She forced her eyes to circle around to the other messages. Mr. Morris and Miss Harcourt had signed too. Finally, her eyes travelled to the message Mariam had been waiting for her to see. My family wish you get well soon. Mariam. Thank you, Sade said softly. I've got something for you too, but I have to finish it. She pulled out the Christmas card and pens from the desk drawer. Mariam sat on the edge of her bed while Sade worked in silence, drawing a row of palm trees in the remaining blank space inside. Swift light brown strokes made the sand, and underneath in emerald green she wrote, I hope one day you will be able to go home. She hesitated, wondering whether to add something about Mariam's brother. Perhaps it was better not to. Remembering him must be painful for them. Yet it was Mariam who told Sade about him, even about her father dying in prison. It was something she still had to learn, how to talk about Mama. She handed Mariam the card, making herself explain the front was a picture of their backyard at home. My brother Femi used those trees for his goals. My brother Hassan also. He's crazy about football. But now, Mariam's voice flattened, now I don't know anything. Aunt Gracie put her head around the door, reminding them of the time. Come whenever you like in the holidays, me dear. You will be welcome. Mariam's grave face opened into a lovely smile. She pointed to the letter on the bed. Maybe you like your letter. Morrissey say he is proud someone from his class do what you do. Sade picked up the folded piece of paper. You read, you see. I go now, or my mother worried too much. Mariam raised her hand to say goodbye, but suddenly halted in mid-air. I nearly forget. Marcia and Donna, they in trouble. They have to see head teacher, and they not come back to class this afternoon. People say, father from year 7, come and make big complaint. Mariam said goodbye and was gone. Sade briefly remembered her fantasy of having Papa alongside her to tackle Marcia and Donna. It must have taken courage for that year 7 child to ignore the threats. But she would rather not think of Marcia and Donna at all, certainly not now. She turned up the radio again and unfolded her letter. Dear Sade, all of us in 8M want to send you our warmest wishes, and we hope you have a good rest over the Christmas holidays. Some of the class and myself saw you on the 7 o'clock news on Monday. We have all been shocked to realise what you and your family have been going through. I feel somewhat guilty, as I fear you may have thought you were in some kind of trouble on Monday when I called you out to have a word in private. In fact, it was the very opposite. After lessons on Friday, I received a telephone call from a producer of the school's programme Making News. She told me how you and your brother had very bravely come to tell your father's story to the chief presenter of their channel's news. Apparently, he was so impressed by you, he suggested the topic of refugees for a future Making News. They would like you, and your brother, if he would like that, to take part. Class 8M has also been invited to present an investigation for the same programme. Don't worry about deciding now. 8M does not know about the invitation, and you should not feel under any pressure. All I have told the class is you were responsible for getting your father's story reported. He must be very proud of you. We all are, and can understand how worried you must still be about him. I should say the idea to send you get well wishes came from the class themselves, but they also asked me especially to write they feel very sad and troubled to hear about your mother's death. We all send much sympathy to you and your brother. Yours sincerely, Duncan Morris. More next time.